In this video, I'm going to share 3 common mistakes that people often make when they start intermittent fasting, so that hopefully you can avoid these mistakes and have a better chance of success. My name is Ben. I'm a PA, which is similar to a doctor, and I've been spending a lot of time over the last several years learning about fasting and nutrition so I can help people like you get off to a smooth start. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into these 3 mistakes. Mistake number 1 with intermittent fasting is rushing into it. Doing too much, too soon, too fast. So when you start anything new, any healthy habit or whatever it is, your body needs some time to adapt and your mind needs some time to adapt. So if you rush into it, you're probably not going to last very long. So that would be like a typical New Year's resolution, right? People get really fired up and then they last like 3 days. So this is a little bit similar if you've heard of the keto flu. When people start a really low carbohydrate diet, sometimes they feel kind of sluggish and this and that for the first several days. And that's because their body hasn't fully adapted yet. That's the main reason. And so the same thing is true with fasting. If you rush into it, you're probably going to feel kind of crappy and you're probably going to give up sooner rather than later. So it's better to build up gradually and then kind of ease into the habit so you'll have a better chance of success in the long run. All right, mistake number 2 with intermittent fasting is trying to diet at the same time as fasting. So obviously a lot of people start intermittent fasting because they want to lose weight, or in other words, reduce body fat. But dieting and fasting don't really go together, and here's why. A typical calorie restriction diet results in, you cut your calories day after day after day, so after a while, your metabolism slows down. And that's why people usually feel sluggish and then feel crappy and then eventually give up. And when they give up, they rebound back to their previous weight and sometimes even higher. So that's the typical scenario with a calorie restriction diet. Fasting has several advantages over calorie restriction, and one of them is that it's able to keep your metabolism strong. But in order to do that, you need to eat plenty of food when you're eating. So that's where this phrase fasting and feasting comes from. Fasting and feasting. So when you're fasting, you're fasting. When you're not fasting, you're feasting. But that doesn't mean binging on junk food necessarily. That means eating high quality food until you're nice and full. So you can keep your body strong and keep your metabolism strong. Okay, next I'm going to share mistake number 3 with intermittent fasting. But first, if you're getting any value out of this video at all, go ahead and hit the like button as well as the subscribe button so you can see more of my videos in the future. Okay, mistake number 3 is not being consistent. So I mentioned earlier that it takes a while for your body and your mind to adapt when you start fasting. It also takes a while to see some of the results, some of the benefits of fasting. So it's not all going to happen overnight. So you got to give it some time, which means you need to be consistent for a while. There's tons of health benefits you can potentially get from fasting, from reducing body fat or losing weight, which is one of the most common goals people have, but also, improving blood sugar, blood pressure, fixing things like fatty liver, PCOS, and the list goes on. So there's a bunch of potential health benefits, but most of those aren't going to happen on day 1 or day 2, or even in the first week necessarily, especially if you're building up gradually, because then you're not going to be doing that much fasting on the first day or the second day. As you build up gradually, it's going to take a while to get to the point where you're seeing a lot of those benefits. So in other words, you'll have to be consistent if you want to ultimately see a lot of the benefits that come from intermittent fasting. So I have a podcast episode where I share several more of these same kind of beginner tips about what pitfalls to avoid and how to go about that. So I'll put a link in the episode description below, or the video description, so that you can check that out as well. My name's Ben. I'm a PA, which is similar to a doctor. I work in the emergency room. I've done family practice and urgent care, and I've spent a ton of time learning about fasting and nutrition, doing a lot of self-experimentation so that I can help people like you get a smooth start. So if you didn't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can see my videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.